Welcome to the DGRN Podcast. I am Zach the Digital. We have we have a lot to get through. To be quite honest, there's way too much. And I say all that kind of jokingly, kind of not jokingly, mostly not jokingly, if I'm being completely honest, because there is so much that I think I miss, but also at the same time, like, a lot of people missed, right? It's not just a me thing, it's everybody's missing this type of thing. So I think, that part is important to include, slightly. I think it's slightly important to include that for, just for the sake of just saying it. So, gonna get onto that. Quickly just putting something in real quick just so I don't forget about it in like the 5 seconds that I want to bring it up. 'Cause that would not be good. Alright, now we're getting places. Okay. Let's start off somewhere, I guess. We can start off with the Phoenix race for Busch, because that's where we last let off. That was a fairly good race, I would say. Wicked got the pole for that race, so some cool points for Wicked, but I hardly think it was going to last that much. You know, things happen for a reason, so things are what things are, but you know, certain things happen for a reason. Some fortunate, some not so fortunate. So, is what it is. The actual race itself was very interesting. By far the fastest cars were Cole, David, and that was pretty much it. You can maybe throw in a third place car at some point in the race. But it was mostly just those two that were really, really fast. B-Rad, I guess, would be like your third or fourth place car. And Cole, I think, was just the best overall. He could wrap turns 3 and 4 better than anyone could. And I think he was generally faster on pace, but he made a lot more mistakes, and the big thing is that he lagged like a lot. So it kind of ruined his race. He DNF'd. I'm not even sure what stage it was, but it was getting closer to the end of the race, and he hit the death wall and DNF'd. So it wasn't a great finish on paper, but it was a great effort, I would say. Not entirely his fault. It just kind of sucks that was the result of all that hard work. David, on the other hand, you could say probably overall second fastest car. I think if Cole doesn't lag, I think he and Cole either battle it out, or at least he's the only car that could somewhat contend. Ended up winning, swept all 3 stages, subbing for Abstract. Won the entire thing. On the final stint, he did have to kind of battle B-Rad a little bit. B-Rad had a shot on the final lap, just entering 1 and 2. He hit the wall, and that was that. And Dave was able to pull away, and I don't want to say run away with it, because that's not entirely true, but he kind of just I would say it was kind of handed to him, kind of. You can see the results on your screen there. David first, B-Rad gets second, Rack Avenue gets third, which kind of surprised me when I was looking back on it. But he had a solid day. Finished P3. Mr. Beast, um, more so he was okay. He wasn't super slow or anything, but he would hit the wall a lot, so that kind of ruined his chances of really getting the win. Carson fifth. Wicked pole sitter was a non-factor the entire race. He finishes up in P6. XLT seventh. Cole, as I mentioned earlier, finished eighth. Frog Monkey was our first DNF and cursed parked the car after a couple of laps, and that was that. That was that for the Phoenix Bush race. Now, from the time we did the last podcast and this one, there's only been two. Bush had an off week, and then Cup, there's been three. Because we had the Phoenix race, and we had two races in one weekend for Cup. So, moving on. Cup Series at Phoenix Raceway. Also a track kind of dominated by one driver. Sort of. Silent was way fast. Kind of like Cole in a sense. From Bush the day before. Again, he was able to rock the 3 and 4 line really well, better than anyone else could. And really the only people that maybe could contend was Lark, and that was it. No one else really could. Bakers, maybe you can make an argument there, but not really anybody else. So I'll quickly pull up the results because I would say a couple of things happened, but they weren't super, super big. Actually, the one big thing that did happen, Caden DNF'd and Martian DNF'd. So, 2 DNFs there. I don't think anyone else DNF'd, but it was a rough race for some people. Kind of how this thing goes. Again, on your screen, at least it should be. There we go. Never mind. It's not there for some reason. We love it here. Now it's there. Okay. The Lord is kind. Silent took the win. He actually had to battle back from the back. He kind of was in the front, then was in the back, and then had to battle his way back up to the front. Able to win it. Bakers gets second place. Big day for the 3 car. B-Rad, I'll talk about him a little bit because he salvaged a good finish. But he was also very much a non-factor the entire race. Just when people make mistakes and whatnot, he was very consistent with his line, didn't make too many mistakes. At least, to ruin his running position too much. He made quite a few mistakes on the racetrack. I'm sure many drivers still remember that. But he ends up with a 3rd place finish. Good for him. For his first Cup start as well. Monkey Got Hops finishes 4th. Larkins 5th. Probably finished lower than he probably could have finished. I think he probably had a top 3 car, but just didn't finish there. Genesec was a big one. A lot of people were looking at to win this weekend. It doesn't happen. He finishes in 6th. Also, kind of a non-factor. David finishes in 7th. Rough finish for the 0-0. Caden 8th. Martian 9th. And that's where they ended up. So, it is what it is for some of these folk here. Moving on to points after that race. For Bush, B-Rad led points. Abstract 2nd. Mr. Beast 3rd. Rory 4th. Jonapong 5th. Michi in 6th. So I will pull that up for all y'all to see. It's very kind of interesting. I say kind of with a for a reason. Not super. It's almost interesting to a point where it's yeah, this could be cool. Here, I'll move this over so that it can kind of show. At least it should. It'll show at some point. Or not. Good lord, it'll take them 5 years to do it. You can see the rest of the order in here. Not too bad for some of these guys. And then for Cup, Silent, if you remember, guys. If you remember, he had the points lead at Vegas, retains the points lead, stretches it actually a little bit over Lark. Baker's third, HP fourth, Caden fifth, David sixth. You see the rest, seventh on back. Cup line actually got a little close between David and Monkey. That is very cool. Then New Hampshire happened, and New Hampshire was kind of interesting. I raced in this race, and I could tell you it was very interesting and also kind of depressing. What I mean by that is, like, if you were a fourth place car, you weren't moving from fourth place. You either, maybe you'd get up to third, but you're not really going forward, you're more so just going backward. And that's just kind of how the race went. Lark was the best car, and he rarely left first. There was one time where he did, and he was the only car that could cut up through the field without much of an issue. I think everyone else kind of, once they were kind of settled in, it's like, yep, this is it. So by far, best car won the race. He won at Hampshire, obviously big for him. Silent finishes in second. He didn't do too well in the stages, but able to salvage a P2 finish. That's a battle of David pretty hard for that position. All of that, they both would have finished third and fourth respectfully. I was running second at the time. I had a big lag spike, I think exiting 2, and then that was my race from second. So doesn't tell the full story, but I got fourth. Bakers takes fifth. Monkey got hop sixth. B-Rad was nowhere at all, and Caden was also kind of in a rough spot. HP left early. He just couldn't get the track figured out, and Windows lagged to hell, so he finishes in 10th. So a bit rough. Points after this race looks kind of more interesting because Lark took back the points lead, swept the race, won stages 1 and 2, and there he is in the points lead. Silent second. Bakers holds on to third. David moved up from 6th to 4th. Caden 5th, HP 6th, Monkey Ops 7th, Windows, and the rest of the field kind of follows suit. Then we get to another cool track, Kansas. And Kansas was very interesting because it kind of played like a track position track, but with like slight drafts. And this is like the common theme. Most races are usually track position, but to the extent, I feel like it's a lot more this season than it was last. And I think I like that a little bit more than just having everyone trying to pass each other for forever. At least me personally, anyway. You can see here, Silent won the race. The best car, I would say. And I'm not saying like he was like the best, like Lark was the best at New Hampshire. Since there's drafts, there's a lot more competition going on. So you had comers and goers. You had Red, you had Charles, David, Lark. I think maybe Monkey at one point. I think it was just mostly those four. All of them had to battle Silent, and Silent each time drove away from them at some point. For some, it would take a little longer, but I think he was the best car. Well, I think Lark's second best. David, at a certain point, I think he was second best. Red as well. Charles, you can make really an argument for any of those guys that they were the second best car of the day. But no one could really hold a candle to Silent, at least not for long. But Monkey finished the second, P2 at Kansas. That's his worst track, he claims. So, not a bad finish. Bakers, Um, Also not too bad. He made a bunch of mistakes at Kansas, and you'll see how that affects him in just a minute. Red fourth. I feel like he kind of got bullied in the back quite a bit, and just could not get away from certain people. Caden finishes fifth. Lark takes sixth. I think he probably would have gotten second, at least try to get second. Try to ride the wall off turn four and hit the intent wall glitch, and he falls from third, P2 to P3 to P6. So it is what it is. David finished seventh. He had an okay race. He didn't really grab a lot of stage points, and it kind of hurt him. But at a certain point in this race, I really did think he could have a shot to have a crack at the win. Charles as well was in the mix in the final couple laps. He just kind of got out of groove just a tiny little bit, and then Baker's just came with a full head of steam, pushed him into the wall, and that was his race. Genesect, not much going on there. Rainbow as well, and then Wicked just had a bad cup race. just a bad cup race. Not really much else I can really say about it. And then points after that, because Silent did well in the stages, takes back the points lead by 10. Monkey's up to third in points now. David fourth. HP fifth. Then you see Bakers and Caden in sixth and eighth. They got hit with a 75-point penalty. Yes, for wild actions during Kansas. So Caden went from fifth, drops down to eighth. Bakers went from third, drops down to sixth. So quite a big shakeup. Windows is now seventh in points. That could obviously still change because Caden's only 4 points behind him. But Bakers is not. He's still a little ways away from Windows, but he's not. He doesn't have that cushion that he had with being in third. And now Silent and Lark are basically like almost 200 points ahead of third and on back. It's kind of insane if you really think about it. But I digress. That was all for the Cup Series. That's where the points stand right now, heading into this weekend's race at St. Petersburg. Still got one more race to go, which is Busch. They had one more race, which is at Rockingham. Again, another track position-ish race, but Rockingham had no stages, so it made for a much more interesting race, depending on really who you ask. But I would say it was more interesting because there was long runs nearing like the mid-end point of the race. Beginning of the race, there was just cautions everywhere because no one kind of knew how to get away from rhythm. But once they did, it kind of smoothed itself out. Had a bunch of big runs. Caden, see here, takes the win. Before we get to the finish and whatnot, I will say for Rockingham and for New Hampshire and partly St. Petersburg, there is a slight issue with setups like this because Rockingham's setup was not hard really in the slightest, but because it wasn't hard and there was no drafts, everyone kind of got stuck in a sense. Like there was those that were everyone was good at the setup, but you had to be really, really good to really get somewhere. So Silent was really the only car that could cut his way up through the field without much issue. Everyone else kind of was stuck between like each other. So you really had to finite your skill to get where you needed to be. And if you just weren't that good, then you just weren't that good. And sometimes you get pushed back, but everyone was kind of the same. And for New Hampshire, it was kind of like that because the setup wasn't also that hard. It was somewhat like difficult, but again, since there's only so much you can do with one line, it was kind of like, yeah, that's that. If Even if you didn't have anything else for the leader, that was pretty much it. You kind of like dead to rights. Moving on though, Caden and Silent, top two are Cup drivers. Some people kind of discussed about whether or not how many part-time starts people should have. And that's a valid point because Bush is kind of oversaturated with part-timers. And some of y'all be like, man, I don't know about that, you know. But when I looked at like how many part-time starts people are having, um, I guess I should back up a little bit. Um, to a couple days ago, maybe about a week ago by now, but Bush got an update. They had two tracks added to their schedule: the Charlotte Roval and Texas, which will be after the Charlotte Oval race for the 600 weekend. Those races will not have part timers, so they will fall under. You see in this little spreadsheet here, um, Roval, Texas. That's where they land on the schedule, and whatnot. So all that is all fine and dandy. The big thing is there is part timers in every single race, other than like these two races that just got added. Up until Nashville. Nashville is in the playoffs. Nashville is race 15 of now 20. That is insane. For Bush drivers, other than these two added races, they have to deal with some either cup driver or semi-retired driver or someone who's just not running full time, running a race, especially Talladega, especially Indy as well. Those are the two big ones, and Indy is the regular season finale, so it's gonna make guys fighting for fifth and sixth and under the cut line. It might make things very difficult, because I know there's some drivers that don't adhere to like the unspoken rule of like give up your stage points if you're not a full-time driver, for the full-time Bush drivers or cup drivers to get their stuff together and get their points. Some won't adhere to that at all, and that's what I'm mostly worried about. But yeah, still, to Nashville is insane. And I think that's it up until Homestead. Like, there's a part-timer. There's only 4 races without any part-timers from here on out. Roval, Texas, Nashville, and Homestead. So for some people, the Roval and Texas are going to be like their big circles to make stuff. And this is more so not for like the regulars, but more so for like drivers. I don't want to call too many people out, but like drivers that don't do super well on a regular basis, and they qualify in around like the 8th to 10th range. It's mostly those people that that are worried about, because they need a chance to get better. That's the only way you get better, is just race more, and the less opportunities you get to race because someone else is kind of taking your spot. It is what it is. But that's just a small topic of debate. Back to all of this. Caden took the win from Silent. He did it in an interesting way. He kind of kept his car on the bottom, Silent went to the top, and then Caden walled Silent for the win. And Silent said, like, it's just Bush, just D2. But I think for anyone in Cup, right, that kind of opens Pandora's box to race Kaiden in a certain way. I don't mean like wreck him or anything, or makes him extremely dirty. But if it's for a win, like, I think you probably think twice about being super clean about it, or at least giving him like the benefit of the doubt, or giving him, I don't want to say room, but like giving him like any sort of leverage. I'm sure that's kind of off the table for some drivers, maybe not for everybody. But for some, I would think you probably think about that twice, considering if he's willing to do that for a Busch win. Now, it's important to note that he did it in a Jordan Ball car, a car that he's very passionate about, so that probably had more to do with it, but still, something to note, I suppose. Michi finishes third. That's big for him. Um, he kind of was having a pretty iffy couple of weeks. So third place finish, that's really big. He gets the most points of any full-time Busch driver, so that's great for Michi. Neptune fourth. He was kind of also kind of like a non-ish factor all day. Kind of stayed around sixth and seventh, and then at one point actually got to the lead and was battling for the win. He just kind of got nudged out of it. Cole finishes fifth. Not a too bad day for him. Battled a bunch of adversity at the start of the race. Finishes fifth. Rack Avenue was public nuisance number one. That's all I can say about him right now. There is something coming for this for the Rack Avenue machine, but that'll be coming later tonight. Curse finishes seventh. Not a too bad day. Monkeyed eighth. XLT had a rough day. Wicked, another rough weekend. And Chucksta DNFs in 11th had to go places. So, points after that race. B-Rad still in the lead. Abstract still second. Mr. Beast still third. Top three don't change, but Michi now is fourth. John Apong is out the playoffs for now, and Neptune is in sixth. And that's really all the big changes. You can see more cars have more points down at the bottom, but not too much has changed. It's kind of just a couple of changes here and there. All right. So for this weekend of races, it's just St. Petersburg Cup. That is it. The track just opened today, so drivers have the chance to go and make their laps on it and see if they like it or not. I think most will. At least most should, anyway. It's definitely the hardest setup on the schedule, and there has been some talk maybe making the setup slightly easier. But again, it's kind of a mix, because if you make the setup too hard, you get very little passing, and the best will obviously come forward and do the best, but it won't be the best product. And if you make it too easy, there's also not going to be a whole lot of passing, because everyone kind of gets used to the setup, and it's hard to really make up or lose time if you can't really make a mistake, or if you can't, if everyone perfects a line. So it's kind of a hard, tight rope to kind of walk across, but we do try. Probably will make it a tiny bit easier. We'll see times kind of go up, but we'll just kind of have to see where all that leads. I'm not sure exactly where all of it will lead, but I think I have a slight idea where it all could go. For the picks, people pick stuff and whatnot. That is wrong tab. I hate everything. Okay. Oh my god. Can I get to... This is going to be taking me forever just to get to, because this is not going to want to do a thing. Take that long just for it to do that? That's cool. All right, so Phoenix to Rockingham for Busch. David won the race in the 24. And you can see who did anyone get it right? Technically, B-Rad did, because it was the 24 car. It just was a different driver. And then for Rockingham, Caden won. I don't think really anyone had him winning. No, they didn't. So, it is what it is. B-Rad technical winner. Then from Phoenix to Kansas, Phoenix, Silent won the race, and Caden got it right. And also Twisty Zach also got that right. So good on them. Then New Hampshire, I got this one right because Lark won, and no one else got this one right. There's a lot of silence in there. See 3 in a row here. And then Kansas, I also got this one right. Silent wins here. And this time, David also got this one right. So did Wicked. And so did B-Rad. So good on all of us getting that right. And next is St. Petersburg. I bet it on myself to win. I'm not sure how well that's going to work now. Lark said HP. Liv said Lark. Monkey said red. David said red. Okay, Gaiden said Lark. Tony said me. Wicked said red. Wyatt said red. Twisty Zach said Lark. B-Red said red. So a lot of red picks, some me picks, some Lark picks. Mostly the favorite heading into this race is Red Knight Fighter 1, which I'm not too surprised because he did dominate last time at St. Petersburg. Well, the St. Petersburg model is different, so that is important to note. Now, I'm going to highlight a couple of drivers just because I feel like it's important and I need to kind of highlight them in good and bad ways, mostly the bad. So we'll start with Busch here. we're gonna go down the list here. All right, XLT. He's been bad. No other way to put it. He hasn't been great on track. He's not really made a lot of friends, and it's kind of put in perspective like, oh goodness, this is going to be a rough season for this guy. Because he needs to start racing cleaner, for one, if he wants to get anywhere near the top 6, and also get the performance to show for it. That's really it for XLT. Cole is in a situation where he just needs better stage finishes and better finishes overall. I think he just needs to finish more in the stages than the particular race per se. Get your stage points is what I'm trying to say. Get your stage points, absolutely. Top 3 needs to do that. Rack, I think he's not terrible. I don't think he's bad either. He can just be very over aggressive and very, very annoying if he doesn't lock in and shut up. That's his biggest weakness here. Other than that, he's alright. He does have his moments where it's kind of absurd. Wicked is the big one I want to talk about because he's had a rough season, man. Rough season. So let's take it back, right? Take it back to Daytona. Didn't make the field at Daytona. Oh well, it is what it is. Then Atlanta. Okay, good momentum. Finishes 3rd. Not too shabby. Then we go to Las Vegas. Not great. 8th place finish. That's not good. It's not really good at all, if I'm being honest. Hell, let's actually back up a little bit further, shall we? Just like a tiny little bit. Because he made the race at Atlanta for the Cup race. Finished 8th. Rough. DNF'd. Then, obviously, Busch finished 8th. Cup Series race. Does it go any better? No. Finishes 10th. DNFs a second time. And it's like, oh, this is not going great, is it? Then Phoenix comes around. Gets on the pole. We're thinking, oh, okay, this will be better. Finishes sixth. Not really stage points. It's rough. Then Cup doesn't go for Cup, so it's like, okay, whatever. It's a whatever race, I suppose. Things happen and whatnot, right? And then weekend for Cup again happens for Kansas. And I'm thinking, okay, Wicked's usually decent. And he was in the back all day, lagged, out at lap 2, finished 11th. I was like, okay, that's not great. But we still have Rockingham. Rockingham could be good. And then Rockingham has just come along and he finished 10th. It has been a bad season so far for Wicked. And he sits relatively well in the points, mostly from Atlanta and some other points here and there. He sits ninth. It's not terrible. It's not as bad as Rack or Cole or XLT, but he's just had a bad season because he's shown up for quite a few races and he's just gotten no results to show for it. For Cole, XLT, and especially Rack, they don't show as often. I think it's more just bad luck because you can see he has speed. It's not like he's running bad, right? And that's the biggest difference, right? Cole runs good at certain tracks. Not every track he's going to run good, but tracks like Phoenix, I guess to a certain extent, Rockingham as well. He ran well. He wasn't bad at all. But he just hasn't had the results to show for it. Wicked, on the other hand, he's gotten more points, but at the same time, it doesn't really feel like he has because he doesn't run particularly well at really any track this season. And it's just like, man, when will things turn around? And I don't know when things will turn around, if I'm being honest. If they ever will. So I'm kind of worried about Wicked. Some people had him as the championship favorite, and I just could not see how that could be. I predicted him to win a race this season, just one. I didn't think he'd go light the world on fire. Yeah, you can see here I have him winning at Chicagoland. But I think some were on the Wicked bandwagon from the Truck Series season, and kind of rightfully so. I mean, he looks promising enough, right? So it wasn't the craziest thing to say. But it doesn't look too great, is what I will say. It doesn't look good on paper to be like, this is the champion. I don't think he is at this point. Maybe he can turn it around, but it's rough for this guy. Colefius, whatever, and then Johnny Pong also just kind of did one race. All right, on to the Cup Series. Marshall, gone. Charles, it sucks because he has 2 races this season. Vegas, he was just over aggressive. That was that. And then Kansas, he wasn't super over aggressive. He was actually fast, didn't get stage points, and then had bad luck with a bad push into the wall. So I'm not like on like the, Charles is not doing too hot, but he does need to start getting stage points in general, would help this guy like a ton. So that'd be big. Rainbow as well. Rainbow, I think, needs just to show up and get points. That's it. Twisty Zach and Genesect, not really much to say. Caden with that big point penalty, I think he was doing well, so it's whatever. And Windows has just been lagging, so there's some excuses here and there. It is what it is. Not much to say on the Cup field. I think everyone just needs to calm down and not be super aggressive, but that's it. All right, and now St. Petersburg, last thing I'll talk about before ending this thing. Petersburg, that's a big track. The track is big. It's gonna be probably the hardest track we go to. So favorites, you have Red, obviously, is the favorite. Lark, favorite. Silent, myself. Those are the big four. But outside the big four, who do you really have, right? Maybe you'll have David or Caden kind of coming through the field. Maybe you have Bakers. Maybe it'll be Wyatt or somebody. You know, it could be one of those people that will just get themselves to the front and kind of surprise everybody. It's not the craziest thing to have. In season 11, Cursed Skeletons kind of just went up and won the race out of nowhere. So it's definitely possible. It's just who out the camp is going to do it. Monkey Hops even you can put in that conversation. Obviously, I'm biased, so I'm going to try to go for myself. I really want to win at this track, but looking at some of the times and how much consistent some people are other than me because of how things are with my keyboard and whatnot, I'm a little uneasy about saying I'm going to be the favorite. I think Lark and Silent are really going to hit home with it. It's probably Lark because I'm looking at this race more as a New Hampshire race, not in the sense that it's going to be run basically the same, but the same people are going to be up front. It's going to be me, Silent, Lark, and you put Red in there. We don't really know where Red's going to stand, but assuming it's like last season, it's going to be really tough between like the top three. Who's going to come out on top? And if it's not super clear and there's a battle, that's better, I think, for the product. But that will be all for this episode. My Wi-Fi is really not doing all that hot, so that's not too great, but it is what it is. That's all for DG Podcast number 6. Hopefully we'll meet back soon for podcast number 7.